So the first speaker is Fabian Westerheide, and I'm very pleased that he is joining our summit. Fabian is international expert in artificial intelligence, an entrepreneur and venture capitalist, and the founder of the conference on the rise of AI, which will be happening for early May, so three weeks from now, and it's an absolutely must-see. There is also a live stream that you can watch, and so I'm pleased to have him here on the program, and he will share his vision on what impact AI will have on society, on our companies, and beyond. So he will share a holistic view on AI, to be honest. Fabian, before we start, I do have a question for you. What makes you so excited about AI?
I personally, I love it because it's technology, it's future, it's impact, it is change. I mean, it's for me for 10 years now the most recent, and always, there's always something new. It's always coming. It's never changing, and we're far from the end. And also, I believe truly there's a correlation between welfare of society and globalized world. And this is all correlating with AI. So AI will be always on top of digitalization and a connected world. So no AI means also no connected world, means also we are back to hugging trees.
So do you agree with me that AI and ChatGPT, which is one of the newest things on AI, is more profound or has more profound impact on business than the internet and the iPhone?
It's on top. So no internet, no iPhone, and then AI. So AI is always, I say, like in the tip of the iceberg. Yeah, when you see AI, there's huge below, and we couldn't have done it. I will talk about this in a second. I mean, it's all building on top of each other. So AI is there to stay, and it will have way more for us in a couple of next years.
And we're not talking only about large language models today. We're talking about the broader spectrum of AI. So it's not only on generative AI. We also will be talking about general intelligence, and we also be talking about analytics. So I think we cover it all. But with no further ado, Fabian, the floor is yours.
Okay, just before I start, you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, then good, because Zoom lost me. I just see myself and you now.
Well, I'll see you.
Good. So hello, welcome to the round. I heard we have plenty of audience from all over the world. I love it. I will give a brief introduction into AI. You will have more talks for depth. So I will give you the first, let's say, crash download, and we'll cover just, what are we currently discussing? What do you have to consider? Good for discussion, good for the follow-ups. Before I talk about AI, briefly introducing myself, mainly because this is entrepreneurs organization. Yeah, we're all entrepreneurs here. And I studied in Switzerland, United States, in Germany business. I went to a company builder called Team Europe. One company we IPO'd was Delivery Hero. I started like 2 VCs funds afterwards, started my own business. While I doing my own business of selling wedding dresses, I was part of EO Accelerator for 2 years. So had great experience there, really loved the program, love EO, have been to EO Germany once. And, until today, it's my most favorite network, and the openness we can communicate and straighten. Until today, you go to a table and you meet someone from EO and you're right there. And so then roughly 2013, 14, I would say I turned full-time AI. I was able to give a couple of TEDx talks to which was called AI is Eating the World. And interestingly, this didn't change until today. I started to advise in the German government, being in Brussels, a lot of education in the pre-COVID years. I also started my own fund where I invested or still invest into AI for the last, 8 years. So early stage investment into AI. And then in the meanwhile, I started to invite people, first time 10 people, 20, 50. And then before COVID, we have roughly 1,000 people coming to the Rise of AI conference. Well, then COVID came and we iterated it to a different format. before we talk about AI, on purpose, I talk about something else, and that means COVID. It was a huge break for me, and I was from traveling 40 to 50 times a year to zero down, no meetings, not physical travel anymore. I purchased literally the cabin in the woods. So outside of Berlin, just a huge piece of a forest. There was an old cabinet. For 2 years, I refurbished everything. Just saying this, as a follow-up for everyone here in the audience, we can later talk about self-awareness, mental growth, and permaculture, because I think both are related to AI in a certain way at the end. Well, let's now jump into the topic right away. First, these are accelerating times. I'm pretty sure we all have seen those exponential growth. We've discussed it, Ray Kurzweil, etc. But we are still in a time, and it's getting more. We have polycrisis, polar world, multiple crises, a lot of mega trends, and just AI is just one of them. It may be not the most crucial, but a very impactful trend, and it's playing along with a lot of other things happening in parallel time. And AI is accelerating itself. We, from outside, you just see those jumps, but when I'm doing it now for 10 years, and you see this curve going up, and we are somewhere in this uptick now, which is wonderful, and that's why it's a perfect timing also to do this EO talk today. Well, why now? It's an old discussion. If you haven't seen it, the movie Metropolis from 1920 or 1927, already there it was about robots replacing humans who want to work, and it was the people working with the machines having a revolution against the upper 1% who was living on everything. So the discussion about machines replacing humans, it is an evergreen. It has been there 1848. It has been there in the 20th century. We had this quite often. So these discussions we are having currently also about replacements, etc., that's old. That's something we have since we are in the industrialization. Also interesting is in the first wave of the industrialization, we replaced the physical worker. Today, we speak about replacing the mental worker. So it's a little bit of a different fight there. Just short in history. First milestone, 1996, 1997, IBM Deep Blue won against the world champion in chess, Kasparov. It was a hype after this. Why is this important? Well, this was an expert system. So expert system means a lot of rules were defined, a lot of knowledge was defined. The machine was just I'm saying, faster and doing the calculations of playing chess, and it did no mistakes. Kasparov once said in his interview that he lost because he made one mistake after 5 hours. Normally, his human opponents, they make mistakes on their own, and that's why he's normally winning. So he couldn't beat the machine because the machine was playing perfectly. Since then, we all know that chess is something every smartphone can do today. But these expert systems were a huge driver for everything which was coming afterwards. And what we see today with ChatGPT, etc., is a combination of several systems. Next milestone, roughly, I think 20 years later, was when Google DeepMind was playing the game Go against Lee Sedol. And this is important because it was the first time we see something which was based on deep learning. And deep learning is in contrast to expert system, an open system, which is a little bit mimicking how the brain works. So you feed in data, the system is learning on itself, or you can use different version. So the AI is teaching itself. So what they did in the first attempt is giving just a lot of historical games into the AI, and the AI was training itself how to play the game and was becoming a world champion, or was beating the world champion in this game. 1 year later, there was AlphaGo Zero out there, which didn't even know the game. It was just playing against itself, and it was within a couple of weeks to months better than the predecessor. So this is important because at this time, the world realized, wow, damn, AI is back there. And also we speak about the wave we're building upon is self-training systems, machine learning. The machines have understood to learn and to teach themselves. And before, the bottleneck was always computing power and always abundance of data. But since we have the internet and we have the iPhone, like Robert asked, we have now everything we need. Well, then afterwards, it became the first time that I experienced like a strategic tech race on a global level. Almost every nation out there brought out an AI strategy from, Germany, Brussels, India. The Americans were there. The Americans were on Obama fast, then was Trump, and then back with Biden. Just saying this, because for the Chinese, it was the Sputnik moment. I will touch the Chinese a little bit later, but it was a wake-up moment for many, many nations that this is a crucial technology which they need to run, to own, and to steer. And therefore, we started to have the first global race for AI. It's still ongoing. I will touch like who's running it and who's really well at it, in a couple of slides later. But that was like a breakthrough, and I haven't seen this. And we don't have this for crypto. We don't have this for quantum. We didn't have this for the internet and the iPhones out there. For AI, it was the first time that all policymakers in the world said, we need to do something about this. Well, and then I jump almost, a couple of years forward, ChatGPT. I mean, ChatGPT is what we are having today. This is the new trend. It's, for me, the second trend we are doing. And ChatGPT is, how do you say, it's the killer app we were waiting for. So everyone who's in the field of AI was not surprised by this, because we have seen the progress of OpenAI doing and other companies in this field. But positively, I was surprised when the interface came out, how fast it was growing. I think it was 1 million users in 5 days, 100 million users of a couple of days. It's the fastest growing app out there, which we ever had. And that's another example of acceleration, like Facebook, Instagram, they all went like this, AI first time went right like through this. And I think that's why we are talking today. It's, pushing this hype, but also behind this hype, there's a lot of substance behind. Well, defining AI itself is pretty tricky. I make it easy. It is computing power, intelligence, and data. But I say this because always think like, okay, who's running the computing? Where is it based? Where are the servers? Where's the cloud? Who is owning the infrastructure? Then it's about the intelligence. Do we have the researchers? Do we have inside of the company the intelligence to do it? Do we have open models? Who's owning those models? Are they open? Are they closed? And in the end, data. Data is something which you have in your company or in your country, etc. But currently we see a lot of things that, especially the American businesses are really good in monetizing on data, which are produced, for example, in Europe, but monetized, and running into the system, which is based in the United States. If you want to run successful AI, you need these 3 ingredients in a certain level. And then, because, we talk about it's entrepreneurs here. Where's the market going? And one thing is where I see is typical B2C. And in B2C, we talk about Instagram, Facebook, because they are mainly AI-driven companies. I mean, you look at Uber, it's always an algorithm who's doing the main work of curating content, etc. OpenAI, definitely American company, also doing really good work currently with a new generation of AI. But Google Maps, I mean, who wants to stop using Google Maps or other alternatives? Who wants to go back, going to Falkplan and checking this out? It's an old generation of AI in these terms, but it's still AI. And what I want to say is, in the moment we don't realize anymore it's AI, it means it's fully accepted and integrated. Yeah. I would say that in a couple of months to years, no one will see OpenAI or ChatGPT as an AI solution. They will just see it software, and it's so much integrated in all the values and the processes that, we are losing it. So honestly, this market is already very crowded and given away. We all know that Amazon, Google, etc., they have the end consumers, and, Apple, etc. It's hard to get into the market. At the same time, I see thousands of new companies building currently AI solutions. It will be a tough market. Personally, I would say B2B, business to government, is the big market for the next couple of years. Mainly because it's not served yet, and there's still a lot of potential, because especially government in many countries is not digital at all. I call them Web 1.0. You get the information from the internet, but you can't directly communicate with government or administration, neither can you influence and change something. But AI will be there. And who's doing the game currently? Well, Microsoft partnered with OpenAI, which was a very smart, brilliant move. And Microsoft was pushing OpenAI technology, ChatGPT, into their service products very fast. And you can use it in various forms if you use it. And that was brilliant. I mean, it's a rollout to millions of users in a very, very quick time. And I would say Microsoft is making most of its money in the B2B sector. Well, then we talk about NVIDIA. NVIDIA is running, I would say, up to 80% of all applications out there. And they provide the chips, especially the GPUs, which you need for neural nets, for what I just mentioned, deep learning, and they have a monopoly on it. And they don't have a monopoly on it because, they built the fences. They were just in the market very long. We know it from the gaming industries before, they were doing chip cards for the gamings. And NVIDIA is doing well. What I also want to say about NVIDIA, they don't only produce the chips, they are increasing their software stack. So if you want to do a deal today with NVIDIA, it can happen that they say, okay, you get the software too, you get our chips too, and we charge 40% of whatever you make. So they are growing from just producing hardware into the software stack because they have all the tools which you need to build upon them. So you're saving a lot of development and cost time, but also maybe have to do a rev share. And then we have Alphabet, the mother company of Google, which we should not forget because Google is one of the key AI players out there. Even if they are not as fast as OpenAI in this sector, they are still very strong, very good, and we shouldn't let them go. Well, to touch it as a discussion, why does it matter? I mean, Robert asked me this question, and there's this saying, wherever you have electricity, you will have AI one day. So every device which is plugged into the grid at one day will have a certain level of intelligence. We will not call it AI anymore, but it will be integrated step by step. So we are doing the conference, for example, and our camera team already has chips integrated with a little bit of an image object detection in there, which helps you, the camera, to go over there and to see, you know, who's on the stage, how are they moving, and doing this, saving a whole person standing in behind the camera and just zooming in and out. And, you know, that used to be AI, and that's integrated step by step. So what we currently have is, those are called LMMs, large language models, or, you know, they used to be called large AI models a couple of weeks ago, and there will be a new term for it in a couple of weeks again. And I think they are crucial. They're very crucial because they define the culture. And what I mean with this is, we take the example of ChatGPT. This was trained with billions of data from all over the world, and we love it for this. At the same time, less than 400 people somewhere in the United States are checking and censoring the system, what is visible, what is not visible. So they are building an infrastructure for generating text, video, audio, you know, all this. But it is in a black box. We have no clue how they do it. And we all know how you can hack ChatGPT, you know, how you can tweak it to give you information like building a nuclear bomb, how to hijack a car, how to do a robbery. All these informations are there because they're in the internet somewhere. And I think this is crucial because just imagine they are writing our school books. They are building the foundation, you know, because it's pre-trained, the application foundation for government applications. All this is coming from a large model trained with data. We don't know what's in. We don't have control over the processes. So it's a lot of power and knowledge concentrated in a very, you know, very, very few people. Second, what you need to know about these large language models is that they are, I call it fuzzy logic. So this system never knows what's right or wrong. In contrast to an expert system, which goes to the database and says, this is the right answer, these systems are guessing. And we all have tried this. If you use one of those tools, it is telling you what you think you want to read. It is really good in writing, figuring out what you want to write, but it is actually just guessing. So I have friends who use this for coding a lot, especially the GitHub Copilot, and they are amazed. They are starting the first line and then they get 40 more lines and it's finished. But you need to have the pre-knowledge to know if this is bullshit or if this is real code on the first thing. And the second is you need to write the first code and line so that the AI is guessing what is coming next. You know, it's not starting from scratch. You always need to have a little bit of input there. If we talk about LMMs, we also have to mention Midjourney, Stable Diffusion, Aleph Alpha from Germany. I mean, there are a handful of those models out there. We will see way more models coming, some out there, large ones like OpenAI's ones, smaller ones dedicated for businesses. And I'm really looking forward for the first models just trained for legal. Yeah, I can talk about this a while, or fintech, etc. Bloomberg, for example, came up with their own model. And just imagine, you know, taking ChatGPT, feeding this with all financial data out there, what is it then doing? And there will be a lot of surprises over the next weeks to months still coming out there. So on purpose, I'm rushing a little bit because we have a little time. So I have like 5 points I want to touch on top. First is when we talk about AI's jobs, because a lot of people are, you know, oh, the AI will replace me. Honest answer, no AI will replace you. First, current AI is not replacing anyone working on the streets, working with their hands, you know, it will not. But it will augment you if you're sitting in front of the computer. And honestly, sitting on the computer is pain. Yes, I'm really would like to have an AI where just, you know, like an intern, I can talk to and it's doing all the things. There are a couple of studies that we talk about 100 to 300 million jobs changing due to AI. And there's a saying, you will never be replaced by an AI, you will be replaced by a human working with an AI. So if you're, let's say, you're normally doing videos and you're cutting themselves, well, using AI to do it faster. If you're normally blogging and, you can speed up your whole production process. I know a lot of, as I said, CTOs, they're saving roughly 80% of the developing time, 80% saving, still doing the same thing, but saving a lot of time, giving them more space to do other things. So first thing, it will be a disruption. We need to figure out how we educate those people, how we, re-educate and reskill them, how we train them. But still, this is changing and it will accelerate. But there are a lot of jobs at stake, especially, as I said, sitting in front of the computer. Second is energy. And I just finished a book about climate change and was saying that the whole digital sector is by far today one of the largest CO2 contributor to the world. And I'm a little bit torn there, and I don't know the answer, because on the one hand is the more we use digitalization and like AI, the more efficient our systems are, the less we have to travel, the less waste we produce. On the same time, I don't want that the whole world is a supercomputer at the end. And we are on this way. I mean, we are somewhere in between. So we need to figure out that these systems are at the end more efficient for society and not needing more energy to have less output. So energy is a huge topic there. Looking forward at my conference in 23 days, because we have a couple of people talking about energy, low energy AI, etc. Third, we have to discuss is wealth. Because as I said, OpenAI might be on a monopoly and they could be in a lead position for a couple of years. But where do all the proceeds go? To Microsoft. So if you want to benefit on OpenAI or ChatGPT, you have to buy Microsoft stocks. That's the only way to be beneficial of this. But what I have seen is for thousands of companies doing something in that past, you have now 2 or 3 AI companies doing the same. So what we have seen with Google and, Android and all these large monopolies who are running a lot of things, the same will happen with AI, which means power and influence and wealth will concentrate on a very small top, and we don't know how to distribute this fairly with the rest of the world outside of the existence we have. So the tension we all feel in society, people rioting in France and in Italy, etc., this is part of it, and this will accelerate, and we need to be aware. Well, next level is security. AI is dangerous in the terms of it can hack really well. And there are many ways how you can destroy AI models, how you can poison data, how you can bias it, how you can, crack it. So whenever you work with AI, please have in mind the security issues for offense and defense. And since we have a conflict in the East, between Ukraine and Russia, we also see a lot of AI deployed out there. I personally did a project 2 years ago doing image, just an image classifier to figure out, is this an enemy tank or is this a friend, friend and enemy detection. There are a couple of interesting projects, for example, in the German armed forces currently about adversarial camouflage. So how can we paint our tanks that a foreign AI is not recognizing this as a tank, but is thinking this is just a truck or just a bus? How can you build infrastructure systems so that the opposite side is not recognizing it anymore because the algorithm are trained on a certain data set? And as a fifth point, well, regulation. It's coming. A lot of people cry for regulation. They say you should stop research, blah, blah. And what I mean is the regulation is coming in there, and it's the European AI Act. And it is a nightmare. So it's classifying AI into high-risk AI and no AI. But if you, let's say, have a high-risk AI, which, for example, ChatGPT would be, you have a lot of paperwork to do. So I would say you have to write 100 to 200 pages, just writing pages to comply with regulation, being controlled and monitored by people in the European Union or national level who have no clue about AI. I mean, currently we're writing a law which is supposed to regulate the singularity, to regulate AI, AGI, etc. And it's written by people who don't really know what they are writing. And that is a problem. There's a saying, if the European AI Act would be in place today, we wouldn't have ChatGPT in Europe. So everyone from Europe, just think about this. We would have to use VPNs. It would be not only killing the ecosystem, it would also mean that everyone outside of Europe using and building on top of it would have a significant leverage and start. So if we're in Europe, please come back to me. We need to lobby a little bit more for this law. At the same time, this law will have a called Brussels effect, so it will have a certain effect on other ecosystems out there, United States, etc., and they will orientate on this. So having a couple of minutes left, asking myself, like, who runs the world? Like, where are we globally standing? Since we have a global audience, I will touch China, United States, and Europe a little bit. So first, United States. Well, it's the clear number one. That wasn't clear till COVID, but since COVID, it became a little bit better. It's a clear number one. Number one in research, MIT, Stanford, etc., but still most in quantity and quality research papers are done by American researchers. Second, most capital. It's the most liquid market out there. Most founders, most startups, most capital. I have done my investments my own. I would say an American startup gets in the AI space up to 100 times more money for the same concept than you get the money in Europe, 100 times more. And I've seen this over and over again. Just thinking of a European, different topic, the Americans do this really well. Well, they have all the hyperscalers, all the infrastructure, all the cloud providers, they are American companies, which is brilliant for them, which is not good for the rest of the world. They run and they own the infrastructure. They have the lead position. So I would say the Americans will stay the global AI superpower for a while. I'm very curious to see how they come up. They will not come up with a regulation, but they will come up with a new trend, the new technology. We have to look for the United States to see how they're doing. But the number two is China. And China is number two and one partially in research. They have quantity a lot. Since 2016, they invested 170 billion into AI, 170 billion. Just as a comparison, German government budget at the same time when China was doing it was 5 million. They increased it a little bit to 5 billion, but 170 billion, while we in Germany, in each country is doing a billion here or there, that is the numbers we are competing with. They do it really well in research. They do significant better in corporations. So government and large companies in China are tied together in a good way, that they tell them, you go for this field, you go for this field, you get all the data and abundance you have. They have plenty of capital. They do it really well. And it's a closed system. So that's good and bad. It means everything in China has their own system. It is Chinese AI running on Chinese data. And these AIs are not outside of China yet. Could be, but I think politically it changed a little bit until 2020. I would say, yes, China will export its AI a lot, but now they have taken a couple of steps back and are more, inside. If we talk about China, by the way, and I have a high respect for the country, I always say European governments look for China. They do 80% good. Like perfectly, they execute very, very good. 20% I would not adapt, and that's a cultural thing. So sure, we have the social score in China. It means in some regions you are measured. How well do you perform as a citizen? Are you, good behaving? And if you're a good behaving citizen, paying your rent on time, paying your invoices on time, not going over red light, writing good things about the government, you're getting plus points. You get more visas. You can, getting, higher ratings on online profiles. You get better loans, etc. On the contrast means if you're not behaving like the system wants you to behave, you're getting minus points. And these minus points are getting so strict that you can end up in a, internation camp at the end, based on algorithm. And this is just state of the art. It's no, rocket science. It's out there. And we always have to keep this in mind when this is cultural coming, because technology is out there. How do Americans, how do Europeans or other nations act on this? Because it's there. That's nothing new. We could integrate this too. So sometimes I call this 1984, but as I said, that's my prejudices. That's, how I cultural compare it. And then for last there, well, we have Europe. And I'm disappointed by Europe. Being a German, being here, lobbying for 10 years in AI, and I say we have not understood it yet. Society is very critical for AI. Government is very critical for AI, and the businesses are critical too. Doesn't mean we will lose the game at the end. Just we have very, for 10 years we're saying the United States is having a leap start, and this, this head start is increasing. We don't, have the same speed still. We have no hyperscalers, no infrastructures in Europe. We have good researchers, but not top-class researchers. We have the data, and we don't monetize on the data. We have founders, we have capital, but significant less. We have amazing founders there. I mean, Nicole is coming after me and talking. They are very good use case how you can do AI in a closed ecosystem. They do it really smart, but still it's a very, very small compared to the United States. If I mention Europe, I also want to mention positively Japan, Korea, Taiwan, Israel. They are all good in robotics. They are all good in AI, but also have the feeling because of language that none of these systems will have the same power like the American English-based system, just as the thesis for the beginning and good for discussion later. I'm not sure how well India, Brazil, and Russia will do in AI, because my thesis is the more mature an AI system ecosystem is based on data and digitalization, the more AI you can put on top. And what I've learned is the more sophisticated an industry is, the earlier they can adapt AI, because they have a lot of homework else to do, data infrastructure, silos, etc. And then for the last couple of 2 minutes, a brief outlook. What will come in the next years is the discussion about AGI, or artificial general intelligence, or general purpose intelligence in AI, which is on the same level like you. They used to say this happens when, the Turing test is passed, but ChatGPT passed the Turing test already a while ago. So just means if you're chatting with someone and it's your task to figure out if this is human or machine out there, you can't. ChatGPT is giving you better answers than some humans, so it's very hard to predict if there's a human or machine on the other end of this. We will continue to talk about trust. We'll continue to talk about control, because this is a human thing. AI will do errors. It will do bad mistakes, and it can learn from it. So explainable AI, trustworthy AI will be the trends which will be have ongoing. Also a little bit, which is called super intelligence, but this is a different talk, and will be, we will want to stay on the impact of it this year and the next year. And now, well, I always do this call to action, getting involved, doing a little bit of an advertising for us here. We are hosting the German AI Month. This is an initiative by a lot of ecosystem players, and I haven't seen this in other nations, so I really like this. And we will have a whole month of AI. And next time we'll do the AI, the EO run maybe in May too. We'll figure this out. So there will be 40 to 50 events all over Germany, from women in AI and robotics to AI for people working on the roof, carpenter, etc. So you can go on ki-deutschland.de. Some are virtual, some are physical, just mentioning it. And then the next call to action is the Rise of AI conference. Highly can recommend it. Come there in person if you really care about AI, because the crucial 200 people on the same room, and you get the network, you get the investors, you get the brain download right away. Or you sign up virtual, it's free, you can watch from all over the term, and it is worth. We have 2 stages, plenty of content. Well, that was mainly the talk. I tried to stay in time. I rushed a little bit through, but that's fine for me. Please feel free to add me on LinkedIn afterwards. Happy to continue the chat. Just, follow me to stay updated for AI, etc. And I love to have the discussion, because I'm pretty sure we will not have the time for it today. Thank you for listening.
Fabian, thank you for sharing your experience and your insights. I do have a question. What is your opinion on the general income? Because a lot of jobs will be replaced by AI, white-collar jobs. So that can create a tremendous impact on social welfare. And there are questions about the general income. What's your view on that? Is that something that we need to pursue?
So first, the UBI, the Universal Basic Income, I love it, and it's not the solution. The problems are something else, and just feeding people with straight money is not solving the core problem, but I love it. Honestly, we have a very strong welfare system in Germany, and I hate it that you still have to apply for it. You're the slave of the government. You have to fill out all the paperwork, and all the entrepreneurs out there, all the founders out there, all the students out there, they don't get a lot of money. And I would love to have a universal basic income, honestly, but that's just a beginning. You still need to figure out what is the meaning of life for people. How do we skill them? How do we educate them? How do we make them a feasible, value-adding part of society? Because we all know if people are bored, they do stupid things. We all have been kids, and we all know how it has been. And just imagine bored elderly people doing a lot of crazy things. So I love it. It has to come, but it is not solving the core problem. The core problem is, for now, we don't have enough people, and maybe then we have enough people, and we have an abundance of people. I don't know yet.
One final question. What would you like to share with our EO members, what they should do right now?
Well, right now, if you haven't used ChatGPT, do it. Just play with it. Point.
Fabian, thank you, and I'm sure we'll meet again during the Race of AI conference in May.
We will do, Robert. I thank you.
We will.